It seems I'm not quite as brave as Leslie, for I had intended to begin this sermon by doing the very sort of survey she did. But I had decided already that I would not do that because it would quickly get us into the endless Unitarian Universalist debate about whether prayer makes sense, if one is not sure or maybe is quite sure about the recipient of the prayer, whether there's something or someone on the other end of a prayer, and if so, what, and if not then, what is the point of anything like prayer, and on and on and on. I have served in congregations where simply mentioning prayer in a service would have ensured I heard considerable unhappiness from many congregants, and some asking the board to please reconsider my employment. While the passage of time has lessened a bit of our long-standing reactivity where traditional religious language is concerned, and while you here have given me plenty of leeway, maybe too much leeway, unhappiness may still be the result today because that's how Unitarian Universalists can be around this particular subject. But because our theme for October worship services is longing, I believe we cannot really talk about longing without venturing into the realm of prayer, however filled that topic might be with spiritual landmines. For our deepest longings, those pulls that come from the innermost parts of ourselves, those desires we carry for a lifetime and return to over and over, those dreams that will not be dashed, those aspirations that never crumble under the weight of cynicism, all such longings inevitably lead to some talk of prayer. Every spiritual tradition includes forms of prayer and draws upon a concept of prayer, utilizing the language of prayer to give voice to longing. You may or may not believe prayer is addressed to a deity. You may or may not believe prayers get answered. You may or may not believe prayers make sense for Unitarian Universalists in general or for yourself, given the particular beliefs you carry. But if you pay attention to your own greatest longings for love, for safety, for help in times of desperation, for the strength to make it through the next impossible moment, for someone you love with all your heart to be healed, then whether you call it by that name or not, you do pray. When longing takes the form of words spoken aloud or heard echoing silently in the mind, words addressed to God, or in the phrase of that old you joke, words addressed to whom it may concern, words set to music or movement, painted or danced, screamed or wept, when longing takes expression, it invariably becomes prayer. So with that in mind, I'll go back to my initial intention to begin with a survey, but ask a different sort of question now. Think about the strongest longings you experience at this time in your life, where you feel the most unignorable pull. Maybe your longing today is making itself known more in the form of frustration, so that you see the longing in all the ways in which you feel blocked, stymied, unable to act or move forward. Or today, maybe your longing is a kind of emptiness, a lack that is never quite satisfied, a loneliness never quite eased, a restlessness that never quite lets you settle. What do you most desire today? And recognize that your longing may be quite separated from the rest of your life. Our culture continually diverts our longings into small cravings for whatever is being marketed at the moment. While it may seem that longing could command all our resources and attention, That is not always the case, so clarifying the deepest longing could require more than just the moments I'm giving you in this sermon. What do you desire most at this time? Perhaps the most familiar spiritual longing in our culture that is given expression in prayer form, as Leslie noted earlier, is the Lord's Prayer or the Our Father. In a few succinct lines, that particular prayer captures the longings of all humans in all times. Give us this day our daily bread. We all require daily sustenance. Forgive us our trespasses. Forgive those who trespass against us. Our relationships regularly break down, sometimes because of our own doing, sometimes because of what others do to us. So there is likely always a relationship somewhere that needs healing. Deliver us from evil. We need to experience ourselves as being safe and to feel that our lives are more or less under control. This morning, do you long for bread? Are you literally hungry for the soup being prepared for us now? Do you long for an emotional or spiritual bread so that just once you might not feel quite so empty? Do you need to forgive or to be forgiven so a relationship can heal? Are things spinning out of control in your life just now so that you really could use deliverance from the evil of chaos and distraction and unwise choices? May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awake. We hear a different sort of longing in this prayer, which is sometimes called the prayer of the Bodhisattva. Some say the Dalai Lama offers this prayer every morning upon arising. Many of the same longings of the Lord's Prayer appear in these words: the yearning for safety, for being filled, for healing, for wisdom. But the one doing the praying is not requesting that their individual longings be satisfied, but rather that they might somehow bring satisfaction to the longings of others. And who among us has not longed to help a loved one who seems unresponsive to our desire to help? Who among us has not cast about, sometimes desperately, for some way to ease the distress of that troubled child, that confused parent, that disappointed spouse or partner, that sad person who stands at the intersection with a cardboard sign offering to work in exchange for food? We cannot see the terrible fragility of life all around us all the time and be immune to the longings of this Bodhisattva prayer as we long to be empowered ourselves to make a difference, even a small difference, in the life of just one other person. A story that has become a bit of a legend began circulating a few years ago following General Assembly, the annual national meeting of our denomination, attended by Unitarian Universalists from all over, and it is a legend about prayer, which is ironic that we in particular should have a legend among us about prayer, since we get so squirmy whenever the subject comes up. But this legend demonstrates that even self-sufficient, often skeptical, hardy individualists like us will turn to prayer when the longing is strong enough that nothing less will work. The legend goes like this. It seems there was a time, maybe long ago, maybe not so long ago, when General Assembly was in full swing, crowded as it often is, with hordes of Unitarian Universalists rushing about to the next meeting, the next workshop, the next meal, rushing to catch up with someone they just spotted whom they've not seen in years. Crowded, busy, and hot. Since General Assembly takes place always in June, and the planners sometimes make the unfortunate choice to hold it in a southern city where June temperatures are in the 90s, like here. Just the sort of setting in which you can bet your next paycheck that some poor person will succumb to the heat and pressure and stress and pass out. In the version of the legend I heard, though, this was not just simply somebody fainting, but was somebody who appeared to be having a heart attack right there on the convention floor. Calls for a doctor were shouted on all sides. Cell phones came out to call the paramedics. Everyone stopped in their tracks, caught in the drama, not wanting to seem indifferent by just carrying on as usual. Because General Assembly is always held in a downtown area where traffic congestion is common, it seemed to take an eternity for paramedics to arrive. And in that eternity of waiting for help, waiting to see whether the heart attack would prove fatal, waiting with nothing to do but wait, the prayer started. Not a prayer to any traditional God, and not in a form we might typically recognize as prayer, but it was indeed prayer. Bit by bit, voices rose in a gentle, slow singing of the one prayer every Unitarian Universalist congregation turns to from time to time, especially in times of trouble or sorrow, the prayer we sing here every Sunday. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots, hold me close. Wings, set me free. Spirit of life, come to me. Come to me. What some call our amazing grace, Spirit of Life is the one song a Unitarian Universalist is likely to know if they know no other, and the one prayer a Unitarian Universalist is likely to pray if they never pray otherwise. It's our own succinct expression of longing for compassion, longing for a more just world, longing to be safely grounded, yet also longing to be free to soar, longing for a spirit greater than myself to come into my heart and abide there always. The Lord's Prayer, the Our Father, the prayer of the Bodhisattva, Spirit of Life. Three very different prayers, and yet similar in many ways. Expressions of the longings that are part of us all the time, all our lives. Satisfied at most for a moment, and then coming back again in search of a deeper satisfaction, because spiritual longings are boundless as our very spirits are boundless. Have you ever found it possible to experience enough peace, enough love, enough safety? So we give expression to our longings, and that expression is most likely to take the form of prayer. But that throws us back on that nagging question, to what end? Why pray if one does not believe in God, or is not sure whether God exists, or maybe believes in the sort of God who does not answer the requests of humans, a Santa Claus kind of God who may grant our wish list if we've been good? Without some clear idea of God, without any God at all, or without a God who responds to human requests, then is giving expression to our longings any more than just one more exercise in futility? That can seem to be the case. But the contrary may be even more the case. Namely, that not giving expression to our longings inspires an even greater sense of futility. W.H. Auden once said, "How can I know what I think till I see what I say?" And the observation rings true about praying. How can we know what we long for till we begin to speak and sing and paint those longings, until we give them the words and shapes of prayer? I doubt whether any of those legendary Unitarian Universalists at that particular General Assembly would say that the eventual recovery of the person suffering the heart attack was due to God or the Spirit of life reaching down with godly fingers into that damaged chest to heal that heart. But many of them might well say the sense of calm and hope that took hold in that crowded, hot, stressed horde as they sang their prayer together was, in some mysterious way, the result of God, the Spirit of life, entering hearts in ways that will not readily translate into a tidy explanation. Our longings are so much more complex than we realize, and that means our prayers, our expressions of our longings, will not be simple and straightforward requests for specific and straightforward answers, however much we might find ourselves wishing for that straightforwardness. Prayer is what poet Emily Dickinson called slanted communication, and what happens to us as a result of praying is likely to be slanted, not readily obvious, not a tidy cause and effect relationship, not connected in a straight line to the prayer itself, and often not at all in the form we imagined. So whether, when Leslie was doing her survey, you raised your hand frequently or not at all, go back to whatever longing you carry this morning. Maybe a new longing, maybe a longing you've carried far too long. And see what happens if you do give it expression in some kind of prayer. Whether it's a longing for bread, for peace, for your efforts to bear fruit in healing a relationship, a longing for an impossibly busy day to have just a moment of calm. Hold that longing and then lift it out to the universe. Perhaps a voice will thunder out of the sky, though probably not. But you may yet hear something coming to you in the wind, from someone who happens to walk past you right then, from your own deepest self. A reply to your prayer that reminds you there is never a moment you are not caught up in a network, present and ready always to give you life. May it be so.